In a previous video, I shared some of the distortion of the masculine energy. And this was specifically in the preparation, provision space. Some call it EDC, and how this being prepared can be taken to extremes and becomes more about accumulation of things, sort of like this addiction to gear, instead of simply living your life. People get caught up by the presentation, the performance, and how this distorted masculine energy becomes or is a performance. Boys performing, pretending to be men, thinking that they have all the tools, the knives, the flashlights, the compasses, the crowbars, the backpacks, all this stuff, and yet may never leave their home. And they think that all those things make them a man. But really, those things don't make you a man. It's the presence that you are that makes you a man. So there's this contrast. Those who perform and those who embody the presence, the strength, the containment, the structure, the order, the refinement, the capacity, the respect, the honor, the provision, the protection. These are the qualities of a real man. Not limited to just that list that I just listed for you, but you see, no amount of tools and gadgets and bags can emulate or replace those qualities. Those things become expressions of those qualities. But it starts with realizing the presence that you are, so that you're not seeking these things in hopes of becoming a man. So a lot of the distortion is this consumerism, where the influencers present themselves like some man that's prepared for anything. Yet they're not truly living. Sit at home. You don't need 5 flashlights, 4 knives, a crowbar, a compass, a GPS watch, and a bunch more in a little fanny pack to simply look after your kids at home. A lot of these guys shoot YouTube videos from their bedroom. Maybe they go down the street to Starbucks, grab a coffee. You don't need all that stuff, and that stuff certainly doesn't make you a man. Knowing who and what you truly are makes you a man, and living as that is what makes you a man. So that's sort of the distortion in just that kind of space we were speaking of. That's what I shared. But let's have a look at some of the distortion of the feminine energy. When that feminine essence is distorted, how does that present itself Well, you see this again. Let's stick with more of like an online example so you can see this. It's very prevalent. Once you see it, it's hard to unsee it. In fact, it's not hard. You can't unsee it. Again, same in that influencer space, that space of performance where the performer needs an audience and requires the attention to feel something. That sort of presentation of having everything so perfect, that beauty of the house without a crumb on the counter, without a speck of dust on the doormat. Everything sparkling clean. This is a distortion, and it's being presented in such a way that this is this effortless beauty that then becomes something to chase. It's being sold that you too can have a house like this, or a room or a space or whatever it is. There's so many different ways, whether it's someone's handbag, their office space, or their kitchen. And you see this distortion amongst, it's not only the women influencers, but it's heavily there. So you have the women influencers sort of selling this home, this vision, this space, like it's on display. And it is on display because it's a presentation, it's a performance, but it's selling you an illusion. They're only capturing it there, the photos, perfect lighting, editing. And they're not showing you the other stuff. And they're not showing you something that many don't even realize is really the cost of that performance. The cost of that performance is presence. That home, although presented on a magazine like House and Home or Home Decor, is not really a home. Sure, it's a house, but it's not a home. What makes a house a home is actually that feminine essence when expressed fully. It's what makes a space feel alive, lived in. But when you look at a lot of these influencers and the illusion that they're selling you, it's sterile. It lacks that aliveness. It doesn't feel lived in. There's something in you that should be able to discern that something feels off here. This picture perfect kitchen, yet she says she has 3 kids under 12 years old. Well, are those 3 kids even eating in that kitchen? And you start seeing the illusion start crumbling. It's either staged, which again is quite fitting, because these influencers are on a stage performing for you, selling you a stage space that they present. The false hope that this is actually realistic to live like this. And it's not. The cost is actually the cost of living. See, when you have a kitchen or a living room, or let's just call it a home like that, I'm not saying it has to be messy. I'm not saying that it has to look like a disaster. But it's also something to note here. The other extreme of that disaster, of that mess, is something that looks sterile. It's lacking, actually, that feminine essence. That's the distortion. It no longer feels alive. It no longer feels lived in. The beauty of life is not in a presentation where things seem to be like a museum, like everything is behind some glass wall, protected from being used, that looked never used. The beauty of life is found in living. And when a space no longer feels, hey guys, hey, hello. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. And when a space no longer feels lived in, it no longer feels alive. There's something that's missing there. And that's what your heart's able to discern. Something feels off here. This feels staged. It doesn't feel realistic. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel true. And that's your heart. The truth in your heart is a living lie detector. It calls out the bullshit. It says this isn't real. It sees that this influencer has spent the entire day staging her kitchen just to go on Instagram and do her live for 5 minutes, or to shoot a 30-second clip of making her morning smoothie where there's no spills, no splatters. And it's creating this illusion of perfectionism. But what's perfect is a life that's fully lived, not some sterile life where your kids can't come into the kitchen, grab a snack, where you're literally mopping a spill or the little water residue from the bottom of a cup after your husband puts it down on the counter, or as soon as a glass is put in the sink, it's washed right away. This type of extreme is costing you living. Because you're not living, you're chasing this illusion for perfectionism, and you're always going to be comparing your kitchen to your favorite influencer's kitchen, or whatever it is, your office space or your purse or handbag to theirs, whatever it is. And this is very similar to that example that I gave you of the distorted masculine energy in the same kind of influencer space that's sort of been infiltrated by the consumerism, consuming and consuming and consuming. It's that endless seeking for actually what you are. So just like those things don't make a man, the perfect home doesn't make a woman. And this distortion is very prevalent in the internet space, the influencer space, and it's quite toxic. It's unhealthy is a better word. So let this be a reminder that what you're looking for is not in a perfect home. What you're looking for is not having all the tools and flexing and puffing up your chest to make you feel like a man. It's not about having a clean counter with pretty things on it. This is a sort of distortion of that beauty, or distortion of the preparation, these qualities, the beauty of the feminine essence, or the preparation for the masculine essence. It's like anything, when things are taken to extremes, that is the sign of distortion. When you are constantly watching someone on YouTube present the latest tool, gadget in front of you, making you feel like you're not enough because you don't have the latest whatever it is, knife, compass, crowbar, backpack, fanny pack, glasses, whatever it is, then there's something off there. When you continue to buy those things and continue to watch those type of videos and still feel like you're not enough and that the next thing will do it, it's an upgrade, it's an improvement, and you find yourself just watching these influencers and forget to live your own life, you see the hidden costs. All this time preparing for when shit hits the fan, well, reality check is the shit already hit the fan. It's you not living. When you're watching these influencers, researching all these latest trends, you disconnect yourself with actually that feminine essence. That is the pure creativity. That doesn't look outside of yourself for what's trending, because it simply expresses what's true. And what's true is always alive. And that aliveness gets expressed in your home. It gets expressed in your house, and it transforms your house into a home. It's the aliveness of your family. When they come home, they feel nurtured. They feel nourished by that energy, that softness, that care, that love. It permeates through the entire house and totally transforms it. It's not about creating a sterile space with all these rules for your family so that they can't live. So it's just something that I'm shedding light on. I'm sure you've seen a lot of this in these two examples, or these spaces, let's call it, that I'm shining the light on. And that distortion is really the shadow. So by illuminating that shadow, we bring awareness to it. And perhaps you are realizing that you've been caught up in this. Perhaps maybe you're a man and you've been watching these influencers, just waiting for the next video to drop, talking about the latest gadget or tool. And you see how this repetition, you can see how if you watch their videos, they've been talking about the same brands and just their latest release. And you realize you're just watching an ad. You're just watching a commercial. And you're being sold these things to make you feel like you can become more of a man. Or perhaps you're a woman and you have subscribed to these influencers that show you 30 seconds of their day in an Instagram reel or YouTube reel. And you compare your entire day to their 30 seconds and overlook the fact that they've spent their entire day staging their home just for those 30 seconds. It's an illusion. It's like a magic trick. The only thing now is you see how the trick is being performed. And so you are no longer fooled by that trick. So it's a reminder for you to find what you're seeking outside of yourself, to find it within yourself, because ultimately it's you that you're looking for. It's not the light fixture or the curtains. It's not the new faucet. It's not the sugar jar. It's not the latest handbag or purse. It's not the latest water Stanley cup, sippy cup. It's not the latest switchblade, fixed blade, compass, crowbar, bandana, fanny pack, man pack, whatever you want to call it. These things are not what you're actually looking for. What you're looking for is what you are. And that will never be found outside of yourself. It can only be found within your heart. And if this is resonating with you, if it's becoming a revelation that's revealing itself to you in your life right now, and this message is touching your heart, then that's the call to return to your heart and discover what you truly are. Join me on the journey of truth.